Hello guys, and thank you for watching. My name is Bryan Lebo, Realtor and Principal of the Lebo Group. It's been a couple months since I had an update for you, so today I'm going to go over the actual numbers, share with you a very interesting meeting I had with the Attorney General, and share some overall thoughts. So first, let's go over the facts. 2 months ago, we had 3,894 homes on the market. As of yesterday, we were down to 3,729 homes. Now, of those listings, we had 462 foreclosures 2 months ago. Now we've got 331. So essentially, the inventory is pretty stable, having only dropped 4.2%. But the foreclosure inventory is down 28%. So the only reason overall inventory is down is because of the continuous drop in foreclosures. So bottom line, inventory is very stable right now. So let's move on to some interesting stuff. 2 days ago, I attended an event hosted by the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. The anticipated highlight of this event was an appearance by Nevada Attorney General Catherine Cortez Masto. Now, if you don't know, she was the leading force in creating and passing AB284, as well as the federal mortgage settlement. Now, what I presume was meant to be her chance to brag about the settlement and illustrate the details of Nevada's portion quickly turned into a real serious Q&A session. So personally, I was really hoping that she would shed some well-needed insight as to what her vision was with AB284 and what possible outcomes she sees moving forward. At this point, I think most people agree AB284 was a massive mistake, but rather than complain about the problem, I'm now trying to focus on possible solutions and where we go. So let me share with you some of the highlights from this meeting. Now, first off, as expected, she 100% defends AB284 and sees no issues with the bill. Furthermore, she and several people on the panel seem to agree that there will be no repeal of AB284. Now, she went on to claim that banks are using AB284 as a scapegoat to not foreclose on homeowners and that simply the environment is changing and AB284 has nothing to do with this environmental change. The whole scapegoat idea made absolutely no sense to anyone in the crowd, and she never clarified that remark. In fact, the remark is so senseless that it only makes sense in reverse. Nobody has ever forced banks to foreclose on homeowners. If the banks wanted to cease foreclosures, as they've done in the past, they just simply do, voluntarily. The only pressure banks have faced has been against foreclosing on homeowners. What she really meant with the scapegoat remark was that the banks are not foreclosing so they can avoid showing losses on their balance sheets. So to me, the highlight of the entire Q&A, which I'll throw up on the screen right now, and was directly taken from Hubble Smith's article in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, was when the Attorney General stated, now this is a quote, "There's a reason banks aren't foreclosing. I just haven't figured it out yet." Now keep in mind, this came directly from the Nevada Attorney General, the same person who represents our state, has the closest contact and greatest amount of informational resources to the banking industry in this particular scenario. This one quote right here basically says it all. When an agent asked her about the possible threat of shadow inventory, she seemed both confused and shocked. The same agent went on to clarify what shadow inventory was, and thereafter Richard Lee, who was on the panel next to her, interjected and confirmed the grave amount of delinquent homes and this threat of shadow inventory. Mastro's canned reply was simply, "I hear that all the time. I haven't seen any data to indicate that." This shadow inventory doesn't seem to be much of a debatable topic to anyone I've ever spoken to except for this Attorney General. The denial of its existence is what I found to be so bothersome. A more realistic answer would have been for her to say that the estimated numbers vary so greatly, it's very difficult to ascertain the actual amount of shadow inventory. Just about every published economist agrees with the aforementioned statement. She seems to be the only one denying the actual existence of shadow inventory. So at one point, I was able to ask a series of questions to her, which she essentially evaded. I cited the hyperinflation going on in our real estate market with 2.6% monthly increase in prices. This is just unsustainable growth. I stated more facts and highlighted the diminished inventory, to which she stated she was unaware and was not responsible for the economy or anything having to do with economics in the state. Now, I specifically asked her what the protocol would be if banks elected to pursue judicial foreclosure. I mean, how many judges would be needed to be hired, what would the timelines be, et cetera, et cetera. She never answered the question and simply stated that the banks are bluffing with the whole threat of judicial foreclosure and that it was a simple scare tactic banks have been throwing out there. So in the end, rather than field more undesirable questions, she closed by stating that we, the realtors, are on the front line and that she would really like to establish a panel for her to meet with to find out what's really going on out there. Now, I took this as a very insulting political ploy. As our legislative political representative, it's your job to be educated on legislation and possible outcomes of that legislation. Stating that you rely on us is like a general sending his troops out into battle with no plan and stating, hey, let's see who gets shot first, and then we'll send the rest over in that direction. So to wrap this all up, the Attorney General may have enacted this bill, which was more than apparent, well, it's more than apparent that she's taking no responsibility for the repercussions and that there is not much of a plan to deal with what is occurring right now. So here's what I see happening as we move forward. I think we'll continue to see our inventory stabilize around 3,500 to 4,000 homes, like where we're at now. I think we'll continue to see multiple offers and hyperinflation as a result. I truly don't believe we will see anything start to change until like February of next year. If we continue to see 2.6% monthly appreciation, that means come February, home prices will have risen 23% from today. That's just insane. The key here is the relationship between supply and demand. If we get back to 13,000 to 15,000 properties on the MLS, we could wind up with major problems that could lead to massive property value declines. But frankly, I really don't see this happening. I don't see AB284 going anywhere, and I don't see the motivation for banks to dump properties onto the market, even if they could. Realize that just yesterday, California passed their Homeowners Bill of Rights, which essentially mirrors AB284 in Nevada with a few minor differences. For this, I must agree with the Attorney General. The climate is changing. I do not think that we will ever see this massive flood of foreclosures ever again. Even if banks had the ability to do so, they would further devalue their own portfolio, since that whole flood would create a depreciation in home values. What is most likely is that the major banks are going to exercise their time and efforts spending the $17 billion that they're obliged to spend under this federal settlement, working out loans for the next 1 to 2 years. Sometime in 2013, we'll get up to 7,000 or 8,000 homes, and the relationship between supply and demand will improve. This should slow down the hyperinflation and provide a more stable market. So simply put, no, I do not think AB284 will be amended or revoked. No, I don't think home values will stabilize or go down anytime in the near future. Yes, I think home prices will continue indefinitely to increase until investors start to back out of this market. If you're looking to buy a home, you can certainly wait a year and see what happens, but that wait could very realistically cost you 20%. Essentially, it's time to draw a line in the sand. Do you buy now and ride the wave of appreciation upwards? Or do you think that this bubble will burst, banks will flood the market again, and our real estate market will implode once again? My advice is to buy ASAP. If it goes up 20% and then I'm wrong and the bubble does burst and prices go down 20%, then essentially you're shielded. As always, thank you for watching, and please feel free to contact me directly with any questions or concerns you have regarding this video or real estate in general.